and welcome back to It's All His. Today is my budget day. And so that got me thinking, what is it about my budgeting that seems to be working for us? What changed? What made it so that we could consistently make now hundreds of budgets and have those budgets be a integral part of how we've hit financial goals through the years? Because if your budgets aren't working, if it hasn't worked for you in the past and that's caused you to give up, it doesn't just mean that you're bad at money. It probably is just that the budget itself wasn't built right for you and for your current financial circumstances. Most people give up on budgeting because the plan they're trying to implement is unrealistic. Maybe they find it overwhelming or it's just not connecting with their actual real life. But in today's video, I want to help us fix that problem. I want to help us figure out what is it that isn't working for me and how can I fix it so that going forward, I can find success with my budgeting and with my bigger financial goals overall. So grab a cup of tea, coffee, whatever you've got, and join me as we walk through these 8 reasons why your budget might be broken and how to fix it. And if you're trying to be a better steward of God's money and you'd like some biblical wisdom and practical, helpful encouragement along the way to do that, please consider subscribing to the channel. I make new videos here every week. All right, let's talk about it. The first reason that your budget might be failing is that you have not left yourself any margin for fun. No release valve in your budget. You're so strict, you're so down to every single penny that you feel restricted. You feel like you can't enjoy yourself with any of God's money. And that's not how we are meant to live. God gives us all things richly to enjoy. And while we're trying to be on a budget, while we're trying to be wise stewards, it is okay for us to have a little bit of fun too and to enjoy the blessings. Now, what this looks like is going to be different depending on what goals you have and how much you make and where you're at in your financial journey. But I think everyone should budget in a little bit of blow money, wiggle money, fun money that you can put in there each week, each month to just enjoy, so you don't feel like you just can't stick to this budget. It's kind of like dieting, but then giving yourself a cheat day or treats here and there so that you can still have something that you enjoy, something that's fun, something that helps you to sort of keep going the rest of the time. Little rewards. It's the same idea. So the fix is just do that. Build a little bit of margin into your budget. Look wisely at the entire picture and decide, what can I afford every week, every month, to just spend on something frivolous. Maybe it's a candy bar or a milkshake. Maybe it's something a little more substantial, like getting your nails done or a new shirt. Whatever it might be for you, put a little bit of room in there. Make it realistic, make it wise. Even just a little set aside to spend on whatever you want is gonna make it a lot easier to keep the rest of your budget in check consistently. The next reason your budget might not be working for you is you didn't plan for those non-monthly variable types of expenses that crop up. Maybe you sat down and you listed out all of the monthly bills. Those are the ones you're used to. Those are the ones you are consistently having to pay. But then you forgot that that Prime membership was going to come due. And when that bill came due, suddenly you didn't have that money set aside, it wasn't worked into your budget, and now it throws everything else off. I recommend and love using sinking funds. I made an entire video about that, which I will link down in the description below. Essentially, you're taking those types of bills that crop up once a year, twice a year, or every so often, and you're dividing them up into little monthly chunks and setting that aside. You're taking things that aren't monthly bills and you're making them monthly bills. And then when it comes due, you've got that money already ready to go and you won't have to worry about it breaking your budget. Types of expenses you might want to have a sinking fund for could be car repairs, vehicle registration. I love having a sinking fund for Christmas. I set aside money from every paycheck starting at the beginning of the year for next Christmas. I made a video about that too. I'll link that down below. You could do this for other types of annual subscriptions, maybe different types of insurance that you carry, because we can often save a lot of money when we're willing to pay for something just in one chunk once a year. But if you don't have that one chunk ready to go, particularly for like a big bill like your car insurance, that could really just blow your whole budget out of the water. So if you find that this is a reason why your budgeting is not working consistently, consider sinking funds and definitely check out that video because it will help you sort of figure out exactly how to get those set up. The next reason your budget might not be working for you consistently is that you don't have any cushion. You have no emergency fund set aside. Without some cushion to kind of take the brunt of those unexpected emergency expenses, you're going to have a really hard time sticking to a budget overall. An unexpected doctor trip, a broken appliance, something like that is going to just throw a wrench into everything else that you've planned. So obviously the fix for this is have some sort of a cushion, some sort of an emergency fund, and be really clear about what counts as an emergency and what doesn't. You don't use your emergency fund because you felt like going out to dinner and you just didn't really want to cook. Start small. Even if you can save up $500 to kind of tuck away just in case you blow a tire or need to go to the ER and have a copay. I made a video about emergency funds. In fact, I made a couple. I'll link them both down below. It depends on where you're at in your financial journey. You probably don't want a fully funded emergency fund. And that even what that is, the definition varies, which you'll see in that video. You probably don't need that if you're still paying off debt, but you do want to have some sort of an emergency fund to help you absorb any of those unexpected things while you're paying off debt. So check out both of those videos depending on your circumstances. It will help you kind of think about exactly what the amount should be for you because it's very personal. There's not like a one size fits all number. But having some kind of cushion is going to help you stick to that regular monthly budget more consistently because those unexpected things, they're gonna happen. We know that they will. And really having an emergency fund, this is wise stewardship. Planning and preparing and foreseeing the future, there's just wisdom in that. Another reason why your budget might not be working for you consistently is because you're focusing so much on the numbers of your budget. You're not thinking about the behavior and the heart attitude behind the buying decisions that you're making. We all have those heart sin struggles that will impact and influence the way that we think about money and the way that we use money. And ignoring that completely is a recipe for failure in any budget. You can have all of the answers in your head and get all of the math right and know what you're supposed to do, but then not actually follow through because of just those fleshly struggles. Knowing the habits that you have, the things that might trigger you to spend when you know you shouldn't, all of this is important to take into consideration when you're building that budget. And really the fix for this is to just be really honest with yourself. Be prayerful. Talk to people in your life who are close to you and ask them to give you their honest assessment of how they see you using money. Maybe they'll notice, or maybe you even notice that you will spend when you're feeling stressed. This one isn't an easy fix to do. This is going to take a lot of introspection, prayer, and consideration and wisdom. But God will give you that wisdom. He promises to give wisdom to those who ask. So pray and seek God's help. Talk to trusted counsel, wise friends, your pastor, anybody in your life who might be able to give you some ways to think about where is my heart at with money? Because you can have all the head knowledge, but you've got to have the behavior to follow through with it. The next reason your budget might not be working is because you weren't consistently keeping your eyes on it. Maybe you made this beautiful spreadsheet at the beginning of the month and then you never looked at it again. Life got busy, or maybe you overspent categories and you don't want to look because you feel guilty and you don't want to feel that way. I totally understand that. I have definitely been there. The best fix for this is to just set a regular, maybe it's daily, maybe it's weekly, time to check in and take a look at where you're at. This is one reason why I like to do my budget in 2-week chunks. I feel like it's easier to keep an eye on what I need to watch for 2 weeks rather than an entire month. Some people like to even do it weekly. Sometimes it just depends on when you get paid, but I feel like monthly, sometimes things can get out of hand earlier in the month and then you don't want to look and see what's happening, but you've got to find what works best for you. But even just a few minutes every day, looking it over, making sure you're on track, seeing if you have to shuffle some things around, this can be the difference between sticking with it or just letting it all fall apart and then feeling like a failure. Proverbs 27:23 talks about how we need to be diligent to know the state of our flocks and herds, and in today's parlance, that just really means be aware of your money. Be aware of all of the things that God has given you to manage stewardship-wise. Look at your bank account. Look at your budget. Look at that spending app. Whatever you're using, keep your eyes on it. The next reason your budget might not be working if you're married could be that you're not involving your spouse. Managing the money that God's given you should definitely be something that you are doing together if you're a married couple. Now, I am the budget nerd. I like the spreadsheets. My husband works a full-time job and I work from home and I'm a homeschool mom. So I have more time to do the actual paying the bills and making the spreadsheets. But after I do that, like today, I'm gonna do the budget later after I film this, and I will sit down with my husband and we'll have our budget meeting. We do this every 2 weeks. He looks over what's gotten paid. I explain to him, hey, here's what I did here. Here's what I saved here. We look at balances together. We want to be on the same page. It is really, really important that one spouse doesn't think everything's going great with money and they can just spend freely while the other spouse is over here freaking out because the bills aren't getting paid. You have to know, again, like the last point, the state of your flocks and herds. That has to be done together if you're married. So if you're married and one of you is bearing the weight of all of the money management and the other has no clue, that could be a reason why your budget is just never going to work, because the other person doesn't even know what the budget is. So communicate that. And if this is one that's really a struggle for you, I would encourage, seek wise counsel in your life. Talk to a wise friend, parents if they're good with money, pastor, elder at your church, somebody who can help to counsel you. I'll link down in the description a book. It's a devotional book that my husband and I have done together, and we've done it with other couples too. It is like a daily devotional that helps us to think through our money and our financial thinking biblically. It was really, really helpful, and it could be a good place for a husband and wife who aren't on the same page right now to get there and to be thinking, like with one mind biblically about their finances and about stewardship. And another thing I would definitely encourage you to do is to pray with your spouse. Seek the Lord together so that you can be on the same page and be pursuing what he wants you to do with his money, because remember, it all belongs to God. The next reason your budget might not be working for you is that you haven't found a system that actually speaks to you. Maybe you love a spreadsheet. Maybe you want to do it on pen and paper. Maybe it's an app. Whatever it is, you're not married to whatever budgeting technique you've been trying that isn't working. You are welcome to change it up. Find things that will actually work for you. Make it your own. Maybe you have an app and pen and paper. That's actually kind of how I did it for years. We would use a shared note in our phone, my husband and I, so we could be on the same page, but I would write everything down on a little template that I had made. Now I use an online spreadsheet type of system, but I still have a little pen and paper where I'll write down the bills that I have to pay because I like to check those off. So you've just got to find it. It doesn't have to be the perfect program that this, financial guru recommends and is trying to sell you. Make it your own. Find what works for you, for how you see money, for how you feel organized. And don't be scared to try different things. The next reason your budget might not be working is because you've not been focused on your why. Why are you budgeting in the first place? For my husband and I, it's because it's all his. That's the name of the channel. Because when we became Christians over 13 years ago, the first area of our lives that the Lord just convicted us was how we were handling our money, because it's his money. So the it's all his mindset has been what we've said to each other ever since. So it just seemed like the perfect name for this channel. It all belongs to God and we want to manage it. Our big why is that we are going to manage what God gives us for his glory and not for our own, trusting him to provide for us. What's your why? Maybe your why is you want to get out of debt. Maybe your why is you have some big goals for the future and you want to be able to have the freedom to hit them. Maybe you have a business or a ministry idea and you want to know that you can financially pursue that without the weight of debt and financial stress on your shoulders. Perhaps you want to just be ridiculously and amazingly generous with God's money and you want to know that you're not in any debt and that you can do that. So the fix here is to just seek the Lord, pray. If you're married, talk to your spouse. Think through your why. Keep that as a focus. And that will help you to stay motivated for the small faithfulnesses, like sticking to that budget that's going to get you there. If your budget has failed, if you're not able to stick with it, you are not alone. This is not something that most people are even doing. The fact that you're trying is awesome. So keep at it. And hopefully one of these tips will resonate with you and give you an idea of what you can do to try to be more consistent and more faithful with your budgeting. Sometimes it just takes persistence and sticking with it, trying again, and giving yourself grace. And I think it always starts with seeking the Lord's help and his wisdom. And I hope that this video and the videos on this channel will be a tool that you can use to help find just encouragement and ideas of ways that you can be more faithful with your money and stick to that budget. Because it's not just your money, it's all his money. And if you'd like more help with managing money to the glory of God, click over into this playlist right now and I will see you over there. Thanks for watching.